Panoramic lifestyle, a vision moves in all directions.
Hello and welcome back to Dopamine. I am here with Elaine Mollindo, and when we left, we were talking about how she basically incorporates discipline into her lifestyle with being vegan. I can see firsthand, I had one friend that was vegan, and I wasn't able to really see the choices that they make and why. But with Elaine, I know that she always give a mindset, and it's not preachy at all. It's really not. No, it's not preachy at all, but it just makes you think. And so, like I was saying before, that we had an article. I'd like for our guests to incorporate an article so they can see, a little bit about yourself, what you're passionate about. And your article was named, Why Aren't You Vegans? And so just tell the people a little bit about that, because I thought it was really interesting.
Okay. I chose it because there is a social psychologist named Dr. Melanie Joy, and she has an amazing philosophy on what she calls carnism, and it's a term that really doesn't exist. And when you talk about being vegan, there's veganism, but we don't label what it's like to eat meat because it's so normal. So she has an entire philosophy. She does lots of TED Talks if you're ever interested in looking at more. But this article kind of condensed a little bit of her philosophy, and I thought it was just really easy to read, and it made a lot of sense. It takes 4 basic words and then kind of helps to translate them into why vegans who are vegan for the animals would like everybody to consider veganism. And it's is it normal, is it necessary, is it natural, and is it nice? With the normal being the majority of the world is not vegan. And a lot of people will say when we talk about the necessity of it, it may have been, back 1,000 years ago when we did not have, the farming industry that we do. With that in mind, we have plenty of crops, we have plenty of other food sources. So is it necessary? No longer. So then with that, the natural people, again, we'll talk about, we've been eating meat since we were cavemen. And yes, we have eaten meat for thousands of years, and there are lots of species of animals that do as well. But, a lot of us would argue that initially our bodies weren't made to ingest meat. If you look at a tiger or a lion, their intestines are much longer than ours. They produce higher levels of acid that allow them to break down the meat faster. And so when you look at the human digestive system, it really is more designed for a herbivorous diet. So again, that's Melanie Joy's focus of kind of carnism. And then lastly, is it nice? So if we're talking about is it normal? Most of the world is not vegan, but is it nice? And so you can kind of contrast that last one with all of them. Okay, then maybe if you're going to argue it's necessary, is it nice?
Exactly.
Well, it's completely natural. Well, but is it nice? So when I was, I was a carnivore for the majority of my life. There was a big chunk in there where I was vegetarian as well. But when I decided to become a vegan was when I somehow found myself the owner of a small potbelly piglet. And so I run into a farmer, and he had this gorgeous little piglet, and she was the runt of the litter, and so I would have to keep her in my office a lot. It's a long story. They would come to my preschool. I would keep this piglet in my office, and we bonded. And one day he told me that she was never coming back, but he would gladly sell her to me for $100. So I took on this little piglet, living on the second floor of my apartment complex.
God.
And she got big fast. We moved into a house for her. She got her own bedroom. And then I stopped eating pork, obviously.
Well, of course, you felt like she was giving you the side eye, like, hey.
Yeah, and she's so smart. Like she, you can train them to open the refrigerator if you want to, but you don't. You don't want to. You can litter box train them, which she is. She barks like a dog when someone comes to the door sometimes. And so I just thought I can't eat something that is so sentient and smart. And then there was a holiday where a next door neighbor, threw her some scraps, and I realized, that's a ham bone, and that's a turkey. Like, if she knew, she wouldn't want to eat her friend. And so then why should I eat her friends? At the same time, my boyfriend, he had a lot of health issues with gout, and with that, they ask you to limit your meat intake. My cousin was diagnosed with a really rare form of cancer and decided that veganism was probably the best way for him to live as well. My brother had some real big health problems too, so at the same time, him and his wife were making these decisions. And then a woman who had been working with PETA for a while actually found her way into my life too. And so I thought that these were a lot of signs from the universe, and that was the best decision for us as well. So we watched some videos. There's a great one on YouTube called Earthlings. If you're having trouble trying to make that conversion, watching that video alone, that was the last day that I ever touched a meat or a dairy product or an egg product. And a lot of people don't realize that, yes, meat, it's slaughtering is terrible, and it's painful, and the suffering is very real for these animals. But so is the egg industry as well. They have hundreds and thousands of chickens all, packed into one building and living in these tiny cages without any bedding. And some of them get so crazy that they literally pluck all the feathers off of their body just out of anxiety and fear. In the dairy industry, basically to get ugly, we inseminate cows to be able to have babies. They're not going to produce milk unless they're pregnant. And so once they have that baby, they can't risk that baby taking the mom's milk. So they take the baby away. They basically, again, to get ugly, they rape a cow to make her pregnant. They steal her baby.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's the thing, though, is that with you giving these facts, you're giving emotion to it. You know what I mean? You're putting a face to the brutality of it. And although some people may not want to, convert because they thought, I love my meat or whatever, that's fine. But the fact that it's easier to do out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean? And for you putting the face on it, just because you ignore it doesn't mean it's not happening. So I know you keep saying that, to make it ugly, it is ugly, and some people
really
choose to,
It really is. And so now when I order a meal, and I share a meal with my friends, and their plates of food come, I see murder and suffering on that slice of cheese. I see, a baby that got taken from his mother. I see a cow that is forced to continuously pump milk for humans. When I see an omelet, I see all of the, those hen sufferings and those baby chicks, that do make it to birth. They really, unless they're going to be another egg-bearing chicken and they're male, the males serve no purpose, so they end up turned into chicken nuggets. So a lot of friends, sometimes when they order, they apologize to me, and it means a lot to me because it means that they're shifting their thinking. And obviously, a vegan lifestyle does not equal an unhealthy lifestyle. I get plenty of food. As you can see, my nutritionist says I'm in amazing health. My numbers are, my cholesterol, my blood pressure, everything is perfect. And I get plenty of protein because when you really think about it, animals get their protein from their food source. Their food source is plants. And so if we all wanted to have a vegan diet, we could all be just as healthy and get plenty of protein, because that's always people's question. Where do you get your protein? Well, I get it from where the animals
you're like, I'm getting my protein. Thank you very much. No, that's the thing, though. That's why I really wanted to incorporate this into the show so people can know, that a lot of people think that automatically it just has to be this drastic change and you're just doing it just because. But that's the thing that I love about you is that whenever you're doing something, at least from what I know about you, you're doing it because you walk in purpose. You know what I mean? You're not doing it just because it's a fad or you're doing it because you want to just do a cleanse or something. You're actually walking in purpose and you're doing something for a cause. That kind of helps me segue a little bit, though, into, one of the other reasons why I wanted to bring you on. And so we're going to take a break, but when I come back, I actually want you to talk about the fundraising that you're doing. You're doing a lot of community work, in my eyes, that is just wonderful on a monthly basis. And so I want people to be able to know where to find you, how they can get involved, and so we're going to talk about that a little bit more after the break. So thank you.
Since we all inhabit the earth, all of us are considered earthlings. There is no sexism, no racism, or speciesism in the term earthling. It encompasses each and every one of us, warm or cold-blooded, mammal, vertebrate or invertebrate, bird, reptile, amphibian, fish, and human alike. Humans, therefore, being not the only species on the planet, share this world with millions of other living creatures as we all evolve here together. However, it is the human earthling who tends to dominate the earth, oftentimes treating other fellow earthlings and living beings as mere objects. This is what is meant by speciesism. By analogy with racism and sexism, the term speciesism is a prejudice or attitude of bias in favor of the interests of members of one's own species and against those of members of other species.